Thanks, Megan. Welcome, everyone. So this session is on talking about lessons learned over the last 2 years. This is going to be interactive, so for those of you that are online, welcome. You can type in all of your comments and into the chat. We're going to make sure that I get that information as we go, too. So, number one, let's start with change. Again, most of us know this already. We know that change is constant. And change is, again, nothing new here, but change is also that it's natural. We've seen that. We've seen how people have responded. But what we've also noticed is that we've had a reaction to that change. And that change has left us feeling, when we do it well, it's left us feeling vibrant and engaged and excited and motivated. And when we've resisted, when it's been difficult, we can see where it's led to burnout and mental health issues. So we know that change tends to bring about more change. How many of you found that? You've decided to put in a new process, which then involves something else happening, which involves something else happening. I decided that I'm not getting older. My husband is getting older. I'm staying the same. My husband is getting older. I have a bathroom in which we had to take 2 steps up to get into the tub and 1.5 feet down. I figured as he gets older, I almost said as he gets older, that was probably a recipe for disaster. And so now would be a really good time for us to put in a walk-in shower. Sounded like a really good idea at first. Yeah, we can do this, no problem. And so we had, the plumbing guys. We actually got a plumber to come in, and tile people. We actually got the tile, even with the supply chain stuff. But then the floor had to be changed. And then when we changed the tile and the floor, well, now the wallpaper didn't look good. And who wants wallpaper anymore? So now we have to change the wallpaper. Well, then the countertops and the cupboard and... How many of you've been there, right? You've done any kind of home renovations, you know how it ripples out. Well, the same thing happens at work. And so it's not just the change. It's not just the pandemic. It's all of the stuff that has rippled out. And so some people are really good at handling parts of the change, but other parts are going to get under their skin, are going to annoy them. All right, so understanding where people are at in that change. Now, you've seen this before, and you've probably talked about this in a number of different courses or whatever that you've been in. We go through the process of change where we go from being angry and depressed and tense, and there's the transition, all of these things that happen. And so the biggest part, though, for me is recognizing where are we in that transition. William Bridges, talks about that transition where we are letting go of the old, we're kind of stuck in the middle, or we're moving on to into the new stuff. And so in the old, you may have some people on your teams who are resentful, who are angry, who are frustrated, who are so done with all of this. They're disengaged. Then you see people who are in the middle, and this is where they're becoming disenfranchised, where they don't feel like they have a place, they don't have their feet underneath them. This is where you'll see in your teams a lot of the conflict happening. You're in that transition phase, in that kind of that mucky middle, if that you're having a lot of conflict within your team. And then we go into the new beginning. The new beginning is where people start to get their feet under them. They start to get excited. They start to pull together, and they start to collaborate. And so again, how do we move our teams through this change? And part of that is just by understanding that we're going to be doing it at different stages. And we can be at different phases for different parts of the change. And so for some things, we're like, yeehaw, let's go. This is exciting. I am there. And other parts of the change, we're like, okay, enough. Let's stop this roller coaster for a little while. Successful leaders, again, your role as a leader, are the ones who know how to adapt themselves and know how to bring their teams along with them, who know how to adjust for each of the different members on the team, regardless of whatever kind of phase or stage they happen to be at. How do I build that sense of trust? How do I let people how do I know they're doing what they're supposed to be doing? And so as a leader, we talk about different things, but the first part is, what are the expectations? It's not about FaceTime anymore, it's about the KPIs, it's about getting things done. How are we going to measure that? What are those expectations? What are the expectations around emails? Responses. How many of you remember the days of the inter-office envelope? See, I'm really dating myself, right? Like you actually put a physical piece of paper in an envelope, somebody came around, picked that up, went around with their little cart, delivered it to the right person. That person read it. Oh, that looks really cool. They wrote out their response, and then it went back in that little cart, and it came to you. We've gotten so instantaneous. How many of you have gotten annoyed when you've sent an instant message and somebody didn't get back to you right away? Like, what could they possibly be doing that is more important than answering my questions right now? Like, are they going to the bathroom or something? What a waste of time. Like, it's we've got to make sure that our expectations as leaders, and we need to outline them. One of the companies that I really like, they have a 5 tiered system when it comes to their email. And they put the numbers 1 to 5 at the beginning of every email subject heading. So that way when I get my emails, first part of the day, I can sort them. All my 1s are first, 2s, 3s, and 4s. 1 means this is an absolute emergency. You need to deal with this right away. 5 means if you ever get around to looking at this message, okay. And then somewhere in between. And so they set it up being very specific about how they handle their email. One company shuts their servers off at 5:30 so you cannot send emails after 5:30. Okay. What are your expectations? Because we've let creep happen. How many of you have found creep happening, work creep? I don't really have anywhere to go. I'm not really going to get dressed up for work today. I'm just going to start working. And it's 15 steps down my steps right to my office desk. I'm just going to start. Hey, I'm in my pajamas. No worries. I'll change later. 5 o'clock comes around. I'm still in my pajamas because I haven't got up out of my desk. Oh, hey, my husband's home. Well, we're getting ready for bed soon because I'm exhausted. So I'm going to just stay in my pajamas. But you know what? I've got all these emails to answer. So I'm going to answer these because that'll make things easier in the morning. And so work creep has happened. Be predictable. Be easy to read. Now, this is one that we don't think of. Be easy to read. Don't let people guess. Okay, wear your emotions on your sleeve. Be open with your communication, especially if these people are online because they're not getting all of the verbal or the visual cues. So we need to be really easy to read. We need to be really clear in our communication. Let's see, last one, appreciation and praise. When we talk about, I do a program on the 10 essential needs of our teams, absolutely number 1 is appreciation and praise. How do you show your thanks? How do you appreciate people for their time, their energy, and their effort? So, thinking about those things, building trust. I posted this at the beginning of the pandemic. It went viral. I had people from South Africa and Australia, people answering it. I did it 6 months later. Same thing happened. I did it again prior to Christmas. Same thing happened. This is not rocket science, but sometimes we just need that reminder to focus in on the things that we have control over. And as leaders, one of the best things that you can do for your team is help them to focus in on the right things, the things that they have an impact on. Not the things that are happening that are outside of your control. What another department does, what another agency does, what another colleague does. Help them to focus in on the things that they have control over. Communication, absolutely paramount. What does that look like? What is the purpose of communication? If you think you know the answer, let me know. What is the purpose of communication? If you're in the chat, write it into the chat. To connect. That's not quite it. That's not quite it. To be heard is not quite it. That's the process of communication. So to send a message and have it received, but that is not what is the purpose.
To exchange information and ideas?
Not quite. To verbalize and validate. You're getting closer.
Share.
To share, kinda. What's online? Did they answer?
I've got one saying learn.
To learn, okay.
My personal thing is I think there's too many people whose purpose of communication is to dump.
Is to just dump on somebody else.
You're on
Okay.
that phone call going,
Okay, I'm going to do one more. What do you think? To be understood. It's to remove the uncertainty. The purpose of communication is to remove the uncertainty. As a leader, your job is to get rid of the uncertainty in the way that they are functioning, in the process, in the policies, in the procedures. As leaders, we have the big picture. We know what's going on. But sometimes when we communicate, we're only giving one little piece of the pie, and to them it makes absolutely no sense. Why are we doing this? What's going on? And especially when people are working remotely, we need to make sure that we're giving them more information than they need. They don't need more emails. They don't need more messages. They need more information to get rid of the uncertainty so that they have the clarity and the confidence to be able to move forward. So how are you communicating? Are you communicating in a way that gives them the information? Or are there silos and people holding on to stuff and they don't want to share because, hey, if I have the information, that's power. So are we communicating in a way that is allowing people to be able to move forward? And when we talk about leadership lessons, empathy absolutely rules. Being able to see where other people are at, being able to understand how they got there, being able to understand how to be able to move people forward. Empathy allows us to be able to do that. And so when we talk about one of the key essential skills as a leader that you can develop is that ability to put yourself in another person's position, to understand where they're coming from, the situations that they're dealing with. So how do you build that up? Again, the ones that I want to highlight on here, again, we talked about timelines and emails and those types of things. The biggest one I wanted to do is define what a good day looks like. Define what success looks like. We talk about the celebrations, making sure that you've got a really clear picture of, hey, especially if we're working remotely, like, what are those KPIs? But what is a good day? Like, hey, we got through it and my computer didn't crash. Absolutely fantastic day. What does a good day look like? And have a celebration around when we have those good days. Like, is it the kind of culture that you're trying to create? And if it's not, how are you going to enhance that in a way so that it fits? And then what is it that your team needs? How are you going to meet those needs? What are you going to start doing? What is it that you're going to stop doing? What is it that you're going to continue doing? I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm just asking you to continue to think about these things. So what would be on your list? What are you really good at? Continue doing those things. What is it that you want to stop doing? What is it that you want to start doing?